I'm going to transition to talking about another really exciting feature that we have in reliability version 17, our faulty sensor detection and model tuning workflow. So as I mentioned before, this feature enables the user to mark a sensor within the deployment as faulty and to provide a duration until which they would like the sensor to be remained in the faulty marked state. After a sensor is marked as faulty, we have some behind-the-scenes logic that looks at every machine learning model that is currently utilizing the sensor. We then adjust and retrain those machine learning models so that the faulty sensor is no longer included in their feature sets. After the faulty sensor duration expires, the original machine learning model will be transitioned back to being the champion model, and the interim machine learning model will be retired, and the sensor will be remarked as operational. So in that way, you're able to quickly make an adjustment from the UI about sensor health that then seamlessly updates any relevant model so you aren't using faulty data in your predictions. So let me give you a look at what this looks like. I'm here on the sensors page, and I could use that icon to update the sensor setting. So at the top, we have the monitor settings, and that's what we've previously enabled to create sensor alerts. That's what we think of historically as sensor health. But today I want to show here updating the operating status for those sensors. So I can choose here between operational and faulty. In this case, I'll choose faulty. And now I'll see a banner that tells me if I select the faulty operating status, the sensor won't be used to generate predictions in relevant models. And now I can make a selection about how long I want this to run for. So let's say I choose 30 days, and then I will press confirm. And then I can now confirm the sensor settings updates. So now this sensor will be faulty until about a month from now. I'll see a quick banner at the top that says retraining models. This can take some time to complete. So any models that utilize this sensor will be retrained. And I will just call out that the retraining of the models happens via a cron job on a daily basis as the default cadence. And that's something that is configurable as well, so that a customer can configure this to run more frequently if desired. In this case, that cron job is basically looking across all of the models that have been flagged for retraining and then retraining them on that daily cadence. So here from the sensors page, this is the main entry point where you can see how to mark a sensor as faulty. We also have a couple more entry points. One of them is from a sensor alert. So if I click into the sensor alert, I'll be able to go to the sensor alert detail page. And then here from the tab panel, as you can see, there's another entry point to update the operating status. So if I click in here, I will see that same modal show up, and I can choose faulty, or in this case, I guess, extend the duration. And then let's say I choose 90 days. So that's another place you can see the option to mark a sensor as faulty. Overall, this information about a sensor's operating status shows up in a couple of other places in the application. So, for example, if I click over to the assets and then go to an asset detail page, if I go over to the sensor health tab, I can see all of the sensors that are associated with this asset. And again, I can see the operating status flagged as faulty or operational. Here, maybe I'll demonstrate the ability to do a bulk update for multiple sensors at once if I knew that multiple sensors were faulty and I wanted to adjust them in bulk. A convenient thing to do. And then there's one last place in the application where I can see this operating status, and that's on the model management side of things, which I was showing you just earlier. If I go to a model setup asset detail page, I can see here all of the different sensors that are available for modeling for that asset, and I can get a sense of the operating status and use that to make a decision about whether I would want to use those sensors in my model or not. As you might imagine, you typically probably avoid initially creating a model using any of the sensors that have been marked as faulty. So just to recap, that was a quick overview of the faulty sensor feature, where you have the option to mark the operating status for any sensor in the application as faulty and to retrain associated models using that sensor.